She didn't flinch. She didn't blink. She just stood there, unmoving, while the Apex champion charged. And in a single motion, with one quiet breath, the human girl ended a legend. The arena was carved into the heart of a shattered moon. Once used for ancient trials of blood and honor, it now served the Intergalactic Combat Academy as a test site for elite cadets. The domed ceiling displayed a vivid sky simulation, and beneath it, a crowd of hundreds gathered, watching, whispering, waiting. In the center stood a girl, small by comparison, slender, pale-skinned with dark eyes and black hair tied into a short knot. She wore no armor, just a tight training suit made of carbon-threaded fabric. No weapons, no enhancements. A Deathworlder, a human. The crowd wasn't silent because they respected her. They were quiet because they thought they were about to witness her destruction. Across from her stood the Apex champion of Vortis Sector, a beast of scale and sinew named Cortal. He was 2.5 meters tall, covered in biohardened plates, and had never been defeated. Not once. He had beaten 3 Archon generals, broken a Titanian's ribcage with one swipe, and crushed a Slarn war shield with his bare hands. He was the Academy's pride. And today, his opponent was a girl from Earth. Cadets whispered in over a dozen languages. She's not even armed. Why is she just standing there? This is going to be over in seconds. But the instructors remained still. Some of them had read her file. Others had seen what she did in the lower training levels. And a few, like Commander Ixel of the 4th Combat Directorate, had been warned. Don't let the silence fool you. Ixel muttered to his adjutant. She's not meditating. She's calculating. Cortal roared. The entire arena shook as he charged. The crowd leaned forward, expecting to see her crushed, tossed, or torn apart. The girl didn't move. Not until he was within a single step. Then, one foot shifted, one hand extended, one breath released. And in that moment, time seemed to shatter. Her hand struck the underside of Cortal's elbow at just the right angle. Her foot twisted beneath her like a pivoting blade. Her knee rose into his lower rib cage, dislocating his balance. And with a final effortless twist of her hips, she redirected his entire charging mass downward, face first, into the cold arena floor. There was a moment of stunned silence. Cortal didn't rise. The Apex champion was out cold. Gasps rippled through the audience like a storm wave. Impossible. Was that a gravitational throw? No. It was human martial physics. She turned away, didn't gloat, didn't smirk, just walked off the field with the same calm, haunting stillness she entered with. Her name was Ava Ward. From Earth. Born on a death world where predators hunted in packs, storms came without warning, and wars were part of the landscape. The Apex champion had just been dropped in a single move, and the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. To be continued in Part 2. The medics rushed into the arena, surrounding the unconscious form of Cortal. His breathing was shallow, but steady. Bones intact, vitals recovering. There was no permanent damage, only complete defeat. The kind that shook more than muscle and bone. The kind that shattered reputation. In the stands, a group of elite instructors observed Ava's performance through tactical overlays and thermal scans. One of them, a Drenari intelligence analyst, whispered, "She didn't spike. No adrenaline burst. No panic response. Not even elevated heart rate." Commander Ixel narrowed his eyes. She didn't fight. She ended. Elsewhere in the academy, a holographic replay of the event was already circulating. Cadets gathered around screens, stunned by the precision and grace of Ava's movement. Some tried to mimic the motion, failing hilariously. Others fell silent, contemplating what this meant. In the combat dormitories, Ava walked quietly down the corridor, flanked by nothing but her own reflection in the polished walls. Her room was at the far end, intentionally isolated. Not by her request, but because others had requested distance. Humans still carried a stigma, and she, especially, was seen as dangerous. Inside her room, Ava sat cross-legged on the mat, surrounded by silence. No trophies, no holos of family, just a single datapad. She tapped it. A message blinked to life. Mission declassified. Earth Directive 9X. Candidate observation phase complete. She read it, expressionless. She already knew it would come. She had been placed here for a reason. Not to fight. To show. And today, she had done exactly that. Meanwhile, In the War Strategy Hall, an emergency meeting had been called. Representatives of every major species on the Academy's Board of Governance appeared via holo. The Vorta delegation demands clarity, a broad-shouldered reptilian barked. Kortao was our sector's apex. He trained at twice the gravity strength of a standard world. He was not prepared for a Deathworlder, Ixal said calmly. The Trinari ambassador scoffed. A single girl? You misunderstand, Ixal replied. You all do. She is not the exception. She is the beginning. The silence that followed was deep. Far from the political chamber, Kortao stirred in the medbay. The moment he opened his eyes, he demanded one thing. Replay the match. The medical AI projected the footage. Again and again, he watched, studied, paused at the moment her hand moved. Her breath slowed. Her hips shifted. His jaw tightened. She didn't defeat me, he said at last. She mastered me. Words spread like wildfire. The cadets no longer looked at humans with skepticism. They looked with awe, some with fear. Ava couldn't care less. She was back in training the next morning, alone, lifting solid weights while the others watched, practicing forms they didn't understand. Movements born not of tradition, but necessity, taught on a world where hesitation killed. One brave cadet, a young Plaxian with 4 arms and a curious mind, approached her. Can you teach me? Ava looked at her. Yes, she said, if you're ready to break everything you know. Elsewhere, deep in the classified command layers of the Academy, a file unlocked. Not by accident, by protocol. Cadet Lyra of the Plaxian race showed up to the training chamber at dawn. For arms, a quick gait, and nerves coiled tighter than braided steel. She'd barely slept. Couldn't. Not after what she'd seen. And not after what she'd asked. Ava Ward was already there. Silent. Stretching. No music, no data pads, no distractions. Just focus. Raw and unshakable. The room was bare save for the reinforced floor tiles and a pair of weight slabs meant for species 3 times Ava's size. You came, Ava said, not turning around. I said I would, Lyra replied, lowering her head respectfully. Then leave everything else at the door. Your stances, your forms, your beliefs about strength and speed. Lyra hesitated. Even the way I breathe. Especially that. The first hour wasn't about punches. It wasn't even about movement. It was about stillness. Ava made Lyra stand in a position that felt awkward, knees bent, hips aligned, arms loose at her sides, and simply stay. Muscles trembled. Joints ached. But Ava remained like a shadow, silently correcting form, pushing fingers a centimeter inward, adjusting the tilt of Lyra's head by degrees. This is how we start on Earth, Ava said. We learn to listen before we move. Balance before power. But I have 4 arms. My species doesn't move like yours. Ava looked her dead in the eye. Do predators care how many limbs you have? No. Then your body doesn't matter. Only your discipline does. By midday, Lyra collapsed to the mat, drenched in sweat. Her entire frame shook from holding positions she never knew were possible. Ava sat beside her, sipping from a simple metal flask. I thought I'd learn how you dropped the champion, Lyra groaned. You are, Ava replied. That was the last move. You're learning the first. Across the academy, the storm was spreading. Every cadet now knew Ava Ward's name. Not because of propaganda, but because they couldn't stop watching the replay. The throw, the stillness, the precision. It was studied like scripture, dissected in slow motion. Even the most prideful races, the Carrick Warbroods, the Alari Shock Lords, began adjusting their training regimens to mimic aspects of Ava's stance. But they missed the point. They thought it was a move. They didn't understand it was a mindset. In the staff chambers, Commander Ixal watched with grim satisfaction. A new file had arrived in his secure inbox. Earth Directive 9X. Addendum. Psychological response across species Cohort A. The data was clear. Fear, admiration, rapid recalibration of threat assessments. Ava's demonstration had worked. But now came the harder phase. Integration. She would not remain a myth. She would become a teacher, a mirror, a quiet storm inside the academy. And she was not the only one. Far in the upper orbital rings, aboard a concealed vessel known only as Observation Node 7, 2 humans sat in silence, reviewing Ava's footage. One was older, wearing a high-collar uniform with insignia stripped of any flag. She's ahead of projection, he muttered. The other, younger, more severe, nodded. Stage 2 activated already. Should we notify the others? The older man leaned back. Not yet. Let the academy breathe her in. Let them choke on the realization slowly. Back on the surface, Ava walked the outer trail of the campus. Quiet paths carved into the moon's remains, where no cameras reached and cadets rarely wandered. She wasn't alone. Cortal was waiting, standing beneath a cluster of crystalline trees that shimmered in artificial wind. His torso bore fresh scar tissue from the impact, but his stance held no malice. Just curiosity, and perhaps something more, respect. You knew I would come, he said. Ava nodded. Everyone returns to the place of their fall. He grunted. I watched it again. 56 times. And I charged because I assumed you were weak. You didn't even brace. You're right. I didn't. He took a step closer. Why? Ava turned to him, her voice level. Because bracing is for those who plan to stop the hit. I plan to become the hit. Cortal's reptilian eyes narrowed. That's not strategy. That's madness. No, Ava said. It's survival. On Earth, if you hesitate, you die. So we act before the fear can speak. There was a long pause. He crossed his arms, massive frame dwarfing hers. Train me. Ava raised an eyebrow. Why? I've defeated every opponent the Academy offered. But I've never seen movement like yours. You didn't win. You humiliated me. If I don't evolve, I become obsolete. Ava stared at him for a moment, then nodded. Then come at dawn, and leave your pride at the door. Cortal laughed, a low, thunderous sound. It left the moment I hit the floor. The next morning, the training chamber was not empty. Lyra returned. So did Cortal. And 2 more cadets, one Zentari with luminescent skin and ribbon-like arms, and a short, squat Brelkin who said nothing but mirrored Ava's movements from the shadows. Ava didn't address them. She simply trained. Stance, breath, stillness, balance. Hours of motionless control followed by bursts of brutal, efficient movement. No shouts, no encouragement, just the endless grind of repetition. Ava made no adjustments for their different bodies. She only corrected intent. When the Brelkin moved too quickly, she stopped him with a glance. When you rush, she said, you give the world more time to hurt you. The Zentari trembled during a hold and collapsed. Pain is not your enemy, Ava said quietly. It's the proof that you're still alive. By the 3rd week, her class had grown to 14 cadets from 6 species. They called her the Ghost. Not out of disrespect, but because she moved like one. Soundless, sharp, impossible to catch. The Academy's leadership began to panic. In hidden chambers, the board convened again. We cannot allow a single Deathworlder to corrupt our entire training program, barked the Alari representative. She is reshaping them, added a Crane strategist. Our best cadets now follow her, not us. Commander Ixel stood at the center, unflinching. You misunderstand again. She isn't reshaping them. She's reminding them. Of what? That war is not a ceremony. It is a slaughter. And Earth has never forgotten that. There was silence. The Trinari ambassador slammed a tentacle against the table. What happens when they start questioning our doctrines? Ixel's reply was cold and certain. Then we've finally begun to prepare them for reality. Elsewhere, Ava stood before her group, battered and breathless. Cortal nursed a swollen shoulder. Lyra had fresh bruises on her ribs. The Brelkin bled from one knuckle, but smiled. You are no longer training to survive, Ava said. You are learning to dominate. But how can we dominate foes who outgun us? Asked the Zentari cadet, frowning. Ava pointed to her temple. Because no weapon is faster than this. And no beast is more dangerous than one that stops being afraid. That night, someone tried to kill her. Not in the arena. In the shadows. A strike team, 3 cadets under influence from a radical faction that viewed humans as a contagion, ambushed her in the dorm corridor. Stunners. Blades. They moved with speed and precision. Ava didn't scream. She dismantled them in 12 seconds. Not one fatal blow. Just broken joints, crushed pride, and dislocated shoulders. She tied them together with their own uniforms and dragged them to the medical wing herself. She left a note on their stretcher. Send better next time. From that day, no one challenged her outside the arena again. Word reached Earth. Not through official channels, but through the hidden networks of the Deathworlder initiative. Analysts flagged Ava's progress as accelerated engagement success. Stage 3 was now under review. But Ava didn't care about stages. She was teaching the galaxy something she never needed words for. That humans were forged, not born. That discipline beat instinct. That quiet did not mean weak. And the more cadets she trained, the more the academy changed. Instructors began rewriting lesson plans. Sparring sessions grew more tactical, more brutal, more precise. The ceremonial dances of combat gave way to raw, unflinching survival exercises. And in the center of it all stood a human girl who never raised her voice. One evening, as the twin moons glowed above the academy dome, Lyra sat beside Ava on the observation deck. "Do you miss Earth?" Ava didn't answer at first. "I miss the clarity." Lyra tilted her head. "Clarity. On Earth, there's no confusion. You either adapt or you die. There's no boardroom, no council, just tooth and claw and will. Here, everything's filtered through pride and tradition." Lyra nodded slowly. "Do you think we can change that?" Ava finally looked at her and smiled. "You already are." Far below, in the shadowed archives beneath the academy, the final lock on a classified chamber disengaged. Red lights turned green. Inside, files hummed awake. Dozens of them. Names. Faces. Records. Deathworlder Initiative, global activation pending. Because Ava Ward was not alone. And the galaxy was about to meet the rest of them. 2 days after the arena incident, the halls of the Intergalactic Combat Academy buzzed with a new intensity. Cadets now shifted nervously when Ava Ward passed. Some offered awkward nods. Others veered off course entirely to avoid her gaze. The holographic replay of her takedown of the Apex champion had gone beyond viral. It had become mandatory viewing in all combat theory classes. Entire species were reevaluating what they thought they knew about humans. But Ava wasn't interested in fame. She had already moved beyond the incident in her mind. The mission had shifted. Deep below the Academy's public levels, in a command chamber sealed behind layers of biometric security and neural locks, Commander Ixel stood before a new projection. The image wasn't of Ava. It was of a planet. Earth. "Stage 2 begins now," Ixel said. "Initiate cross-cultural transfer protocols. Select cadets from non-hostile species. Volunteers only. I want them trained under the humans' direct instruction." A voice replied from a shadowed seat behind him, one belonging to a representative of the Academy Council. "And the risk?" "She's not the risk," Ixel said. "The others are. If we don't adapt, we fall behind. Ava Ward is not a threat to the Academy. She's our only chance to survive what's coming." "What is coming?" Ixel didn't respond. Not with words. He simply tapped a panel, and the lights dimmed as a classified document flickered to life. "Galactic perimeter breach. Outer rim. Signal origin. Unknown. Classification. Extinction level threat." Back in the upper levels, Ava was approached by a squad of cadets, among them the Plaxian she'd agreed to teach. Her name was Ril, and though she had 4 arms and segmented armor plating, her posture was always a little hunched around Ava, as if expecting judgment. Behind her were others, a tall Archon with emerald eyes, a wiry Drashin who constantly scanned the room, and an aquatic Uroth encased in a hydration suit. A mix of species who, days ago, wouldn't have shared a meal, let alone a training mat. "We're ready," Ril said. Ava studied them, not with skepticism, but with an old Earth soldier's eye, measuring, assessing. "First rule," she said, "forget everything you've been taught." They blinked in confusion. "If you want to survive what I know, what I've seen, you'll start empty. No stance, no preconceptions, no pride." They looked at one another, then nodded. Training began. The physical routines broke them first. Humans had different limits, honed by a high-gravity, hyperdation world. Ava's exercises seemed simple until cadets collapsed from neural fatigue, muscular exhaustion, or psychological dissonance. They weren't used to pain. Ava didn't shield them from it, but she also didn't mock them. Instead, she corrected their movements, taught them to breathe differently, showed them how to find control in chaos. Days passed. The cadets changed. They still struggled, but something inside them was shifting, not just in their techniques, but in their mindset. Ril, the Plaxian, was first to land a clean strike during a live session. She didn't celebrate. Ava simply nodded. That night, Ril stood in front of her dorm mirror and whispered to herself, "I moved like her." Elsewhere in the academy, unease spread. The apex houses of combat, proud clans from across the galaxy, were furious. They called emergency councils, demanded oversight. Some accused the academy of harboring a weapon disguised as a student. But the footage couldn't be denied. Neither could the results. The cadets under Ava's training were improving faster than any other cohort. Not just physically, but mentally. They no longer feared death. They studied it, anticipated it, prepared to meet it with open eyes. In the Central Archives, a Drenari war historian recorded a new log. For the first time, a Deathworlder teaches not as a savage, but as a philosopher of survival. Their violence is not chaos. It is doctrine. One night, as Ava prepared to end her session, alarms echoed through the academy. Intrusion detected, Sector 7, BO containment violation. She moved before the second chime. Rill and the others followed without question. They reached Sector 7 to find it sealed by blast doors. From the observation window, they saw the horror unfolding. A transport pod had been tampered with. Inside was a creature not listed on any registry. Pulsing, black-skinned, with too many limbs and no visible sensory organs. Quarantine breach, the Uroth cadet said. It's not from this galaxy. The thing lashed out at medical drones, tearing through reinforced alloy. Why is it here? Rill asked. Ava's eyes were locked on the creature. It's not supposed to be, she said. Which means someone wanted to test our response. A nearby console beeped. Unauthorized override attempt. Someone inside was trying to escape. Or release the entity. Without hesitation, Ava grabbed the emergency hatch lever. You can't go in, one of the staff yelled. But she was already through. The air inside Sector 7 was thick with a metallic tang, like old blood and rust. The creature sensed her presence instantly. It shifted its mass, reacting like fluid wrapped in flesh. It surged. Ava didn't retreat. She advanced. Her motion was pure instinct, ducking low, sliding under the first strike. Her foot connected with a support panel, launching her into the air. Mid-spin, she grabbed a loose cable and redirected her fall directly onto the creature's back. It shrieked. She drove her fist into a seam in its exoskin, exposing nerve clusters. The thing spasmed violently. Back outside, the cadets watched in shock. Rill reached toward the door. We have to help her. She's already winning, the Drashan said. Inside, Ava twisted, using a grappling lock to hold the creature down while she reached for a discarded tool. A plasma cutter. With a quick prime, she jammed it into the creature's neck. 1 second. 2. The body went still. Medical bots arrived late. Ava stood over the remains, breath steady. Later, in the council chamber, panic rippled through the upper tiers of the academy. Where did that thing come from? Who brought it in? Was this sabotage? Commander Ixel stood calmly at the center. We may never know, he said. But we do know one thing. Our academy is no longer a neutral ground. We're being tested, pushed towards something. And the human girl? She saved us. Again. With no weapons. No orders. Just action. In the training courtyard, Ava stood with her squad. None of them spoke of the event. They didn't need to. Rill broke the silence. If that had been any of us, without you, what would have happened? Ava turned to face them. You would have died. A beat passed. And that's why we train harder tomorrow. They nodded. Far above the courtyard, a Black Ops satellite passed silently over the shattered moon. Its sensors focused not on the academy, but on Ava herself. Inside its encrypted memory core, one line blinked softly. Deathworlder Initiative, Stage 3 ready. The lights in the central arena dimmed once more, but this time, it wasn't for a demonstration. It was for a declaration. Ava Ward stood in the center, surrounded by cadets from over 70 species, each wearing the academy crest on their armor, each carrying questions in their hearts. Her earlier matches, lightning-fast dismantlings of elite champions, had elevated her to a legend, but now, she was no longer alone on the stage. Opposite her stood General Rivak. Not a cadet, not a peer, a war hero, a decorated veteran of 30 conflicts, brought in as a final test. The instructors watched silently from the balcony. Even Commander Ixel seemed tense. This wasn't a duel, it was an intergalactic message in the making. General Rivak's massive four-armed frame shifted into a battle stance. You've humiliated our champions, he growled, his voice like grinding stone. Let's see how you fare against someone who's tasted real war. Ava bowed slightly. Your anger clouds your perception. This isn't personal. It's necessary. Then, in perfect synchrony, they moved. The fight was unlike anything the arena had seen. Ravak's strikes were furious, efficient, and deadly. He used all four arms, switching from slashing movements to bone-crushing grabs. His war gauntlets pulsed with kinetic energy, each hit powerful enough to shatter reinforced steel. Ava weaved between the blows like wind around a blade. She didn't block, she evaded. She didn't retaliate, she redirected. At one moment, it looked as though Ravak would grab her in a crushing grip, but Ava used his momentum against him, rolling over his shoulder and bringing her heel down onto the nerve cluster between his spine plates. He stumbled, then charged again. This time, she met him head-on. Her palm struck his sternum, not with force, but with focused precision. A microsecond vibration followed, traveling through his armor like a ripple. The general collapsed to one knee. The arena fell into stunned silence. "No way," someone whispered. "She just dropped a war general." Ravak groaned, looking up at her. "What are you?" Ava didn't answer. She extended a hand. The general hesitated, then took it. She helped him up. From the instructor's platform, Commander Ixel turned to the board members. "The message is clear. Deathworlders are not anomalies. They are the next phase of combat evolution." The Plaxian cadet who had once asked Ava to teach her stood in the crowd, eyes wide. She wasn't alone. Dozens of cadets, alien and otherwise, watched with new resolve. That evening, the Academy's administration pushed forward the formation of the first interspecies elite unit, headed by none other than Ava Ward. It was called Project Vanguard. The cadets selected were not the strongest or fastest. They were the most adaptive, willing to abandon tradition in favor of survival-tested reality. Training was brutal. Ava didn't hold back. She broke their stances, tore apart their beliefs, and rebuilt them as warriors who understood one vital truth. In real war, finesse beats form, instinct outlasts protocol, and clarity of purpose always wins over brute strength. Months passed. The unit evolved. Cortal, the former Apex champion, requested to join. Not out of shame, but respect. He had studied Ava's tactics obsessively and wanted to be something more. She accepted him without a word. Ravak became a tactical advisor to the program. Project Vanguard became the talk of the galaxy, and not everyone was pleased. Whispers reached the shadowy councils of the Galactic Dominion. Their spies had seen the footage. Their analysts had run simulations. Their commanders issued a warning. If humanity continues this trajectory, they will unseat our military supremacy within a decade. So they acted. One night, while Ava and her squad were training in a remote terrain simulation facility on a mountainous moon, they were ambushed. Not by cadets, by assassins. Real killers, unaffiliated with any academy, sent to eliminate the threat. Lasers pierced the simulated sky. Explosions shook the facility. Half of her squad was caught off guard, injured, pinned down. Ava didn't run. She moved like a ghost in a storm. One by one, the assassins fell. Not because she overpowered them, but because she understood them, read their stances, anticipated their weapons, predicted their fear. Her cadets regrouped. Under fire, bleeding, terrified, but they followed her lead. They won. In the aftermath, investigations confirmed the attack's origin, a blacksite operation linked to a powerful galactic faction threatened by human ascent. The message backfired. Instead of fear, the attack birthed fury. Dozens of cadets from across the academy demanded to join Project Vanguard. Instructors reevaluated their own methods. And Ava? She stood before the academy board, bruised and still, but resolute. "They sent killers to stop us," she said. "They failed. We won't be silent anymore." Commander Ixel nodded. "Then speak, and let the galaxy hear." With full approval, Ava led Vanguard on an interstellar demonstration campaign. Not of dominance, but of capability. They didn't conquer worlds. They saved them. From pirates. From warlords. From extinction events. In every case, the message was the same. Humans were no longer outliers. They were leaders. Partners. Warriors of the most unforgiving world. And now, protectors of many. The final broadcast showed Ava standing before a war-torn colony on a neutral world, lifting a fallen child from rubble. Her voice was calm, clear, and broadcast to 1,000 systems. This is what Deathworlders fight for. Not for pride. For peace earned through strength. She looked into the camera. And we're just getting started. The war drums were silent, but tension rang louder than any battlefield cry. The Academy's skies had darkened, not with clouds, but with the weight of decisions being made in places unseen. Behind sealed chambers and encrypted calls, the galaxy's elite debated the fate of one girl, of one species, of what it meant when a Deathworlder entered the arena and redefined every rule written before her. Ava Ward sat alone in a soundproof observation room, high above the training fields. The reinforced glass in front of her showed the next generation of cadets practicing, but Ava wasn't watching them. She was thinking. Behind her, 2 guards stood silent, unsure if they were protecting her or protecting others from her. The door opened. Commander Ixel entered, followed by an alien with smooth metallic skin, eyes like glowing ice, and long diplomatic robes. Ambassador Keln of the Unified Galactic Council. Keln looked at Ava not with fear or anger, but with curiosity. "You understand why you're here?" he asked. Ava nodded. "Yes. You think I'm dangerous. We know you are. But we need to understand. Are you loyal?" Ava stood, turning to face them. "Loyalty is earned, not demanded." Keln folded his hands behind his back. "Earth was isolated for a reason. We believed humans wouldn't adapt peacefully to intergalactic society. You've proven we were half right. You haven't adapted. The galaxy has started adapting to you." Ixel, who had remained silent until now, stepped forward. "Tell him what you told me after the Apex match." Ava looked Keln in the eye. "We didn't come to conquer. We came to survive. You judge us by your calm, structured worlds. We were shaped by chaos, scarcity, predators. Every one of us is trained by our planet to fight, to adapt, to endure. I'm not your threat. I'm your mirror." The ambassador blinked slowly. "You've been invited to address the council. Officially, as Earth's representative." Ava narrowed her eyes. "I'm a cadet, not a politician." "Then maybe you're exactly what we need." The council hall was a colossal chamber suspended in orbit over the neutral moon of Helion Prime. Thousands of delegates, millions watching across the galaxy. Hushed voices echoed as Ava stepped into the center circle, wearing the black and gray uniform of a combat cadet. No medals, no fanfare, just a girl from Earth, facing the most powerful governments in known space. Screens lit up. Broadcasters translated into hundreds of dialects. One delegate from the Rakari Confederation stood. "You defeated our champion. You embarrassed our legacy. What gives you the right to stand here now and speak for your people?" Ava didn't blink. "I didn't come here to speak for my people. I came to show you what you ignored. Earth isn't a backwater world. It's a crucible. You call us violent, unpredictable, but it's your comfort that's made you weak." Gasps. Some applause. Some protests. A Drenari diplomat rose next. "And what do humans want now that you've proven yourselves?" Ava stepped closer to the center. "Respect, opportunity, and protection for all the worlds like ours. For the cadets you send into war without understanding the kind of enemy they'll face. We want to build something better, but we won't kneel to join your order. We'll rise, and either you'll rise with us or be left behind." The chamber fell silent. And then, standing applause. Not all, but many. Enough. In the weeks that followed, Ava's speech spread faster than any news cycle. She became more than a cadet, more than a champion. She became a symbol of strength, of truth, of what lay ahead. Deathworlder programs were reviewed. Earth was given observer status on the Galactic Council. New cadets from Earth arrived at the Academy, no longer isolated, no longer mocked. They were given teams, allies, missions. Cortal returned to training, not with shame, but with fire in his eyes. He requested Ava as his instructor in unarmed combat. "You'll regret that," she warned. He grinned. "I hope so." But Ava didn't stay. She left the academy after completing her term, declining all offers for command positions and diplomatic ranks. Instead, she chose to return to Earth, quietly, without ceremony. Some said she'd gone rogue. Some whispered she'd been sent to prepare for something worse. And a few believed the truth, that she had fulfilled her role. She was never meant to stay. Years passed, but the ripples she created didn't fade. In the outer systems, when pirate lords heard the word human, they paused. In political chambers, alien leaders referenced the Ava principle, a strategy of strength through adaptation, not intimidation. And at the academy, new cadets walked the training fields, pausing at the statue erected in the center of the arena. A girl standing still, arms relaxed, eyes calm. The plaque read, "She stood still and changed everything." Because Ava Ward had done what no Deathworlder before her had done. She didn't conquer the galaxy. She made it question itself. And in doing so, she made it stronger.